I did a series of tutorials on weather replacement, some of what I think were the best that I've done. But one thing that I was never happy with were the clouds. Since I was using a still image of clouds, as the clouds passed over the shot, it looked two-dimensional because the clouds in the far background were moving as fast as the clouds in the foreground, which in terms of perspective doesn't really make sense. The clouds in the background should move much slower than these foreground clouds if they move at all. Since making those tutorials, I've received a bunch of emails with ideas on how I could solve that problem, but most left me pretty unsatisfied. About a month ago, however, a designer named Noel Powell emailed me with a solution that after I played with a bit looked really fantastic, kind of like this. This is the same exact footage, by the way, that I was just using, and with Noel's permission, I'll show you how to get this result where the clouds in the foreground are moving much faster than the clouds in the background, and I didn't have to do any cutting or anything like that. Now what we're doing here will rely entirely on an effect called transform, which is one of the distort effects that comes with After Effects. It's been there for years, and I'm surprised I didn't think of this myself, in fact. But it just proves that there's always something new to learn. Anyway, I've got this red solid with a checkerboard effect just so I can give you a little more perspective, and I've added the transform effect. And as you'll see, what happens is we've got a whole bunch of different properties in here, and most of these you're going to recognize from your basic transform properties. We've got our anchor point and our position and our rotation and our opacity, but we also have something here called skew. Now, I'm going to set the skew axis to 90 degrees, right? That determines which way the layer is going to be skewed. But now, as I move this skew value up and down, as you can see, the top goes one way, the bottom goes another way. But what really helps for our clouds is if we take our anchor point. So I'm going to, let me just reset the effect, and I'm going to take the effects anchor point, and I'm going to drop it right into the corner. Something like that. And as you can see, it sort of pushes everything away, but we'll fix that in a moment. I'm going to set the skew axis again to 90 degrees, and I'm going to set the skew to -10. And over time, I'll animate this from -10 to a higher value. And as you can see, when I do this, the top part moves, but the bottom part stays in position. So this is how we're going to get our effect, where the clouds are at the top here in the foreground are moving while the bottom clouds move barely at all. Maybe a little bit of animate position. We'll see. So that's pretty much the basis of the effect. Okay, so here we are in our project, and we're going to take what we've just learned about the skew effect, which is really a small part of the transform effect, and we're going to use it to make our clouds move the way that we want. I'll also solve the problem of position that we saw in the last little bit. Anyway, this project consists of just two layers. Our clouds, which is a layer that has a mask and some feathering, as I covered in the other tutorials on weather replacement, and we've got a picture of a car on the ground. This is really just a composed shot that I had seen while I was driving in Florida across from the west coast to the east coast in flatland, and I just thought it would make a great shot for this sort of tutorial. Anyhow, what we're going to do is with our top layer selected, I will choose Effect, Distort, and all the way down here to Transform. And once there, I'm just going to pull out so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to take the anchor point property, and I'm just going to use this little target to set it right on the corner. Now, of course, that moves everything over, and here's your major solution to this. Not really that hard. Just grab, hold, and move it, and reposition it till it's back where it belongs. Let's see, just about there should do. And even a little more here. Let's see, just something that makes me happy with. There we go. And what I'll do is I will set my skew axis to 90 degrees so that it moves in this direction horizontally instead of vertically or something in between, and I'll set the skew to -10, and I will set a keyframe at the first frame of our timeline with a skew value of -10. Then I'll move down to the last frame, and that's the 5-second mark here, and I will set the skew to 10. Okay, it's not a lot, just a little bit. And let's take a quick look at that. And as you can see, we're getting a nice effect here where the top is moving and the bottom is not. And that looks pretty good. But you can also just add some position animation if you want to. So I'll hit P to reveal position. And at my first frame, I'll click on the position property stopwatch and move down to the last frame and maybe just move it just a tiny little bit. and do a RAM preview. And we've got some motion in the background while the top is moving much faster. All in all, I think that's a pretty nice effect. And hey, it didn't come from me. It came from one of you guys, and I'm always glad to hear these solutions.